So it was in the summer of 2019. We launched a Facebook group. It was the Alliance RV group, and it's still in existence today. I believe there's 40,000 members in this group. So it's evolved and grown over the years. And we went to that page and we said, here's who we are, here's what we've done, and we're looking to come out with a new product, a new RV. And what ideas do you have? What do you like about your RV, and what don't you like about your RV?
Yep.
And all we did was listen.
Welcome back to Innovate or Evaporate, where we explore the relentless pace of change and the innovators who drive it. I'm your host, Toph Day. Every founder claims to be customer obsessed, but how many actually stop? Go out to 3,500 real customers on Facebook and ask them to help design the product? Today's guest did just that. His team called it the Crowdsourced RV. He grew up in Elkhart, Indiana, the city that builds roughly 80% of America's RVs and is more commonly known as the RV capital of the world. After 25 years climbing to vice president at Heartland RV, he and his brother did what most executives never do. They left. They went back to zero and built Alliance RV from raw land, a philosophy centered on doing things right, and a $12 million investment. Then COVID hit. 10 weeks in, supply chains collapsed, the world stopped. But the foundation they'd built held, and Alliance scaled into a 1,100 team operation with a reputation for keeping its promises to dealers and customers alike. Then, in 2025, he launched Alera Marine Group, brand new industry, brand new factory, 100 boats built before the year was out. 2 companies, 2 industries, 1 relentless philosophy. Coley Brady, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Toph. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate that.
I just got chills thinking about what you've been through. 25 years at Heartland, and then now starting Alliance.
Yeah, actually 15 years at Heartland.
15 years at Heartland.
Yes.
And 25 years total experience.
Yes. Yeah.
In the industry. One thing that popped out to me is early on this concept of operational excellence, and you started early on at Crow and KPMG.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious about the foundation before we get into all the sexy part of what you've built here.
Yep.
But the foundational components of like operations and finance and the intersection of those two for operational excellence, how do you think that's formed your professional career?
Yeah, I think it has in a lot of ways. I grew up here in Elkhart, so born and raised in Elkhart County, the RV capital of the world, as you mentioned. Then after graduating high school, I went over to Notre Dame, over just next door in South Bend, Indiana, and my degree was in accounting, and so I spent the 4 years undergraduate working on that degree, and after graduation moved up to Chicago and worked at KPMG downtown and doing audit at various clients across the Chicago region, and got my CPA, and then I came back to South Bend and worked for a short stint at Crow in South Bend, and so I spent about 5 years in public accounting, and I think to your point that really gave us a really solid foundation when you're going out and you're raising capital and you're putting together projections and you're looking at cash burn and you're looking at all those things as you're trying to lift and incubate a business. And that's certainly a key foundation that we had here to make sure that we were prudent in our approach and making sure that we were wise in all the investments we were making to build what we have currently here today.
So speaking of foundations, it sounded like your father had a major impact on your life, sitting at the kitchen table and watching all the things that he was involved in. He was in the RV industry as well?
Yes, he was. So, growing up, I always watched my father, do what he does. He was had a number of different roles, but he was also an entrepreneur, and he was involved with a company called Damon Corporation, which was a motorized manufacturer. And then I was fortunate enough to work with him as he was starting up Heartland RV in Elkhart back in 2004. So that's when I joined him early on within the first 6 months of starting that business. And he ended up selling that business to Thor Industries in 2010 and retired in 2012. But I was fortunate to be at Heartland, as I mentioned, for 15 years. So I had a good time with working through with my dad, and then also working, for a long period of time with underneath the Thor ownership. But it's been great to watch him, and I certainly learned a lot from my father with his background and his entrepreneurial drive.
So you joined Heartland the very first year,
yes,
right, when it started, and were there all the way to the exit, as you mentioned. What on that journey? Are there 1, 2, or 3 kind of pivot points or things with the growth of that company that you learned that were foundational for it when you started Alliance?
Yeah, big time, because you think I was there at the beginning, essentially. We were a really small company. So at those early stages with Heartland, I was doing accounting work. I was doing sales work. I was doing the plant tours. I was going to RV shows. I was doing whatever it takes.
Taking the trash out.
You name it. I was doing it. I was young in my career, and it was also great just to see how the company was built and, the foundation that was laid early. But there's also things you learned along the way that, are ideas how you could do it better. Yeah. And so there's a few things that, I learned along in that process that we did a little bit differently here when we started Alliance RV.
So this Christmas dinner conversation with your brother. Mm-hmm. So how hard did you leave Heartland and there was a gap or a break? Yeah. Or when did that happen?
So Ryan and I left together in March of 2019. We left in March of 19, and then we really kind of took like a month to kind of maybe decompress, if you will, right. and then we got right into the planning, and really a lot of planning regarding infrastructure and team were the two big points of emphasis early on, and so we went out and started building that team up, and then we can start talking about the crowdsourcing, because that crowdsourcing started that summer. So it was in the summer of 2019. In fact, it was August of 2019. We launched a Facebook group. It was the Alliance RV group, and it's still in existence today. I believe there's 40,000 members in this group. So it's evolved and grown over the years. So we went to the market in August of 19, and we quickly had 2,000 people on that page within like a week. And by the end of the year, I think we were up to 4,000 people on that page. And we went to that page and we said, here's who we are, here's what we've done. And we're looking to come out with a new product, a new RV. And what ideas do you have? What do you like about your RV? And what don't you like about your RV?
Yep.
And all we did was listened. And we rented a conference room during that summer. And we had a big, huge whiteboard. And there was, I think, 7 of us on the team at the time. And all we did all summer or all month, for 2 or 3 months, is we would just write down the ideas we heard. And if we heard it again, we'd put a little dot next to it. And those common themes that we kept on hearing about are what we took and did to the product in those early stages. And that's what we took to market in the winter of 2020. So January of 2020 and February of 2020, we were in 19 RV shows. And in those 19 RV shows across North America, we saw immediate success. The product was being shown to our customers through our dealers, and we were really getting a lot of great traction with sales, and it was really exciting to see. So we knew what we had done, and what through that listening kind of was working, and that's kind of how we've really led our business on the product design standpoint today, and that's what we've done every year. So
we talk to founders all the time about narrow and deep, mm-hmm. right? And you go out there and talk to those customers, get that feedback, so you don't build it and they will come, right? Let that customer inform what they want, and they're willing to write a check for it. There's several things that I think are really fascinating. One is that you crowdsource that from Facebook. But what were some of the, like, so you have tow trailers, you have fifth wheels mm-hmm. today, right? Mm-hmm. And we'll go deeper in that here in a little bit. So that's an example of narrow and deep.
Yep.
One dealer per market.
Yep.
One brand per price point. So talk a little bit about that. Was that informed by?
It was, and I think that was informed back to the Heartland days. So at Heartland, we had a lot of different brands. I think we had upwards of almost 20 different brands. In a lot of cases, some of those brands would be in the same price point. Meaning you would have a travel trailer like a Delta that we have sitting behind us here, and then we'd have another brand that looked a lot like a Delta, and we'd have 2 dealers in Denver, for example. One would sell the Delta, and one would sell XYZ brand.
Yep.
And so they'd be coming to our joint website, and it would be hard to differentiate why buy a Delta versus XYZ. And it was then, what ended up happening is our dealers had a tough time selling the product. It was more confusing. It was hard for them to hold a margin at retail. And so our thought was less is more. How can we have less dealers How can we have less brands but be more impactful?
Yep.
And that was our approach, and it's worked where we can really sink our teeth in with our dealers and really build franchise value for those dealers.
Yep.
And then they don't have to worry about, for example, in the Denver BTA, they don't have to worry about having a sister product, down the street. So
I was just in Florida last week talking with a friend of mine and thinking about this phenomenon of how fast technology is moving with manufacturing. And you made a decision to buy 110 acres.
Yes.
And build from scratch brand new facilities. We're sitting in one of your facilities right now.
Yep.
When is this one going to open?
This one will open sometime in late summer.
Summer?
Yep, late summer. So we're hoping maybe September, October.
So then did you consider buying an existing facility and retrofitting? Like what was the process you went through to say, you know what, there's a lot of efficiencies here to just start new?
Yeah. So the answer to that is no. And we wanted day one, we knew that how are we going to attract the best talent to our team? There's a lot of ways to do that. One, great compensation, great benefits. But three, from our viewpoint, is you have to have great facilities, places where people want to come to work every single day. Great, as you can see in here, great lighting, tall ceilings. How do we put our team in a position to win? How do we put our team in a position to deliver excellence every single day? And we felt like doing it from the ground up was the only way to do it. The other nice thing is you can control the culture when you have. In this scenario, we have 110 acres. Actually, we just bought another 30 acres, and we're up to like 140 acres now.
Yep.
So what you can do is you can control the environment too. I can be in plant 5 today. I can also be in plant 1 today. I don't have to get my car. I can walk the plants, which is nice, and you can maintain cohesiveness. The other nice thing too, Toph, is if we have any parts that are short and there's common components, you can share componentry across the plants, which also helps with efficiencies and everything else. So that was kind of important to us on that end.
So what if you go back 25 years ago and look at today from a labor standpoint, what are some of the what do you see are some of the changes in people, what they're looking for in a workforce? Are there other things that you've seen a shift in that they gravitate towards?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say work environment. We are in the RV capital of the of the world.
Yep.
And I think you'll see some of our facilities in town have tired out and have aged out. And I think people now, especially younger millennials and younger workers, want to be in great environments, and they want to be connected to something greater than themselves. And that's what we've kind of really set out to do. And you'll see in all of our buildings, we have our core values mounted on the wall, and we're connected as a privately owned entity to be really in front of our team every single day.
What when we think about, like, from a go-to-market standpoint, logistics wise, right? So we're in Northwest Indiana right now, and what kind of advantages does this region have? Like, how did Elkhart, Indiana, become the RV capital of the world? What was the catalyst for that?
I'm not totally sure. I think one of the things is it's a little bit, it's like it's kind of that little bit of that flywheel where things continue to build off of each other, and you have a few manufacturers here, you have a few suppliers here, and then you get to some efficiencies with that. Because, for instance, when we buy our frames from Lippert, which is a local producer here, we don't have to trailer those frames 400, 500, 1,000 miles.
Right.
So there was some built-in synergies right there alone. If a manufacturer for RVs were to set up shop, let's say in Texas, for instance, there's a lot of RVs sold in Texas, but they would have immediately overnight hidden costs that would make them very challenging for them to produce at a level that we do. And so what's happened over time, and I think I was in the industry in 08, 09, the financial crash, and there was producers in California, there's producers in Pennsylvania, there was actually some in Texas. And what ended up happening coming out of that is they were not able to last or sustain through some of those down periods. And that's when really things can really concentrated even more coming out of 08, 09. And it really just comes down to all those synergies from having the knowledgeable workforce here, having the suppliers here, and then, just some of the know-how that we have right here in town. When you first launched the company and you started with this clean canvas, assuming that you had some financing, when you launched that,
What were some of those conversations like with bankers that you met with, and like in this, hey, I've got this new idea, we're crowdsourcing this concept. What were some of the bankers' concerns, and how did you overcome those?
A lot of it was, they wanted to see balance sheet. The first year, Ryan and I, my brother and co-founder, we didn't take a salary, so we worked for free for the first year just to really maintain costs.
Yep.
The other thing is we did have to sign personal guarantees.
Yep.
Those came off shortly after as we proved our model out and started making money. So personal guarantees, trying to keep cost structures relatively low. Our key executive talent, we recruited the team with some ownership without having cash in.
Right.
So they were what we called our B shares. That was, essentially sweat equity. But in return for that, they came on our team for a lower, maybe than market rate. Or wage. And so those are all the things we did just to keep our costs really, really, overheads really, really low and get us to a point of profitability. In fact, we were profitable in year 1, 2020. So that was huge.
Yeah, that's amazing. So right after you launched, COVID hit, right?
Yes.
And so there was probably a bare knuckle, a white knuckle moment there for a year-ish. I'm just curious. It also quickly turned.
Turned. So it was for us, we were down for 5 weeks. So the governor of Indiana, Governor Holcomb at the time, he deemed RV work essential work. And as soon as we could come back to work, we were in the factory that next day. And so we were down with production for 5 full weeks. Our larger competitors were down for, I think, 7 or 8 weeks. So we were back a couple weeks before them. And we knew we had orders, and we knew that people wanted to go camping, especially in COVID with the isolation and everything else. So, and we knew quickly coming out of the summer that this was going to be good for our industry, and we were able to grow nicely coming out of that.
So it's almost like in your situation with some industries, COVID was a blessing.
Yeah,
right?
It was a blessing, and it wasn't in a way. And the reason why I say it was a blessing is because it was great for orders, and we had plenty of them. It was a negative in that supply chain was really strained, and we had a challenging time getting our parts on time. And then the workforce was really strained because we didn't have the labor that we needed, honestly. And what's happened here the last 3-4 years, as the wave of COVID was subsided and kind of came down, is you saw the market tighten on RVs. Right. And honestly, that's been even better for us because we've been able to grow more out of that than we did coming out of COVID. And because what's happening now is dealers and consumers are really being discerning in their product decisions and where they're investing their dollars for their dealerships. And consumers the same, kind of really researching more than ever. And that's where we win time and time again.
I've always been curious how the dealer, and maybe it's different for different types of dealer networks. I've always been curious how the dealer network works from like an assignment standpoint, or like who carries the paper while you're waiting for that unit to be sold, or how long does it take from unit production? It rolls off the line here.
That's a great question. So we today have 4 production lines, and every production line is a little bit different. But essentially, just rounding purposes, it takes about 2 to 3 days to build an RV. So from the time the frame comes in the door to the time it goes complete out the door, it'll take 2 to 3 business days. And the economics are such that as the unit is complete, we then bank approve it and floor plan it and invoice it to our dealer partners. And then we hire a transport company and ship it across the country or into Canada to those dealers. So generally speaking, we're getting paid, after invoice date, 20 days later.
Well, that's a pretty fast turn.
It is pretty good. Yes.
That's amazing. By the way, we're sitting on 2 of your RV chairs
that's
right now.
These are 2 dinette chairs.
These are very comfy.
Yes.
I like the way they look. They're very sleek.
Yes.
So let's see where we head next. I want to maybe talk about like the efficiency. So you have roughly 800,000 square feet today?
We're up over 1 million now.
You're over 1 million square feet today?
If you include Midwest.
Okay.
You want to talk about Midwest? Maybe?
Yes. Yeah.
That's our first acquisition and newest development. So, yeah.
And Midwest is with your RV company, because we're talking about Alera here in a minute as well.
Yeah. Midwest Automotive Designs is the name of that company that we bought in February. So.
And so that was a strategic acquisition for...
Gets us into motorized.
Into motorized. Got it. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So I have to tell you, I lay in bed at night and I scroll through like RVs because I think it's so much fun to look at.
Yeah.
Like, getting a motorized RV and cruising.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the nice thing about Midwest is it's Class B, like Mercedes Sprinter chassis vans. I mean, they're super luxurious.
Those are so awesome.
Oh, they're so nice. And there's also
are they based here in Elkhart as well?
They're made 5 miles down the road in Elkhart. So we acquired the land. Obviously the whole business we acquired. 200 people on that team, and it's a little bit north of $100 million business today. But we feel there's a path to potentially doubling over the next 3 to 5 years. So
you've scaled from zero. This is 2026. You scaled from zero to $600 million in 6-7 years.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. 2025, we did $500 million in revenue. 26, I'm going to estimate we'll do 600 to 625, based on how the Midwest sales go this year and our current sales with Alliance. So, and to put that in perspective, we built last year 8,300 RVs.
Wow.
So a pretty big number. And I think this year will be closer to 9,000.
That's amazing. So then you decided to get into boats.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Well, I did I went through a competitive pontoon manufacturer here locally in Elkhart. One thing that's interesting is that pontoon manufacturing is becoming more and more centralized here in Elkhart, Indiana. To date, it's about 50%. So not quite like RV manufacturing, but still significant to have 50% of all pontoons produced in North America produced right here in Elkhart. And I went through a competitive production line and looked at the similarities, honestly, in production, building a team. And I also knew that there was a couple of key suppliers here in Elkhart that we could lean on. And that's Lippert and Patrick are the two publicly traded companies here in Elkhart that we have great relationships with and wanted to, I talked with both of their executive teams and told them about this idea and they were supportive of that. And so we went to market. I went to market to build a team and we officially launched last summer. So summer of 25 and built about 100 pontoons last year. And this year we'll build probably 400. And so it's a gradual build. And I'm really, really excited about the product we've produced. And the performance in the water has been outstanding. The look and the design has been really turning heads across the country. So we're excited about where that's going.
So I grew up on a little farm and, we were broke and there was no water sports in our household. And so my favorite thing to do on a boat is to hang out and have a drink.
Yes.
And I've always loved pontoons.
Yes.
Because it's so incredible to do that. Today, you can actually water ski behind pontoons.
Yeah. So our boat is set up. We have a patent pending fuel or a patent pending ski tow bar with a fuel fill at hip height. So it's not off your knees. And off of that ski tow bar, you can actually ski or you can tube. And it's rated to pull big people. Like you can pull, it's not like infants or little kids. You can pull adults on this tube, and it's set up for just that. So we've tested it with pull testing and everything else. So yeah.
How many now? Similar strategy there with brands?
So right there, similar. We'll have one brand and per market or per price point, and one dealer per market. So yes, yeah.
And how so you've gone 100 boats your first year. You're going to go to 400 boats. So from a dealer count standpoint, how spread out are you throughout the country right now?
We're still building our dealer network. We probably have 60 points of distribution for Alera. The goal over time will be closer to 200.
Yeah.
But we're doing a really, conservative, slow, methodical approach to make sure we hand select the best dealers and make sure we're thinking long term there. So, but yeah, I think as you look out 5 years with Alera, it'll be closer to 200 points of distribution.
That's amazing.
Hi, I'm Mayor Chris Jensen. Growth doesn't happen alone. It happens where communities invest in innovation, talent, and possibility. Noblesville Economic Development is helping companies accelerate along Innovation Mile, one of Indiana's fastest growing innovation corridors. If growth is part of your future, start the conversation at choosenoblesville.com/innovate. Noblesville, all about you.
The RV industry is going through a lot of consolidation, and maybe even more consolidation to come. How do you think about that when it comes to being good for the consumer? Does that you think that'll limit selection in the future, or will it expand selection, or not be impactful?
I think it's, Elkhart definitely has gone through a lot of consolidation over the last, 15, 20 years. I've seen it, obviously, when it was at Heartland, acquired by Thor. I do think there's always going to be a place for the independent guys like us at Alliance. And there's a few others out there. But there's honestly not that many. And so I kind of like where we're sitting in the market as an independent producer. And one of our core values is customer obsessed. And it's something we live every day. And I think that's part of what's made us who we are and has allowed us to grow like we have, because we live that out every day.
Yeah.
So
well, speaking of that, you're involved in the community as well. Mm-hmm. And I always love the stories of entrepreneurs, companies are building, and even corporations are involved in the communities. But I think you're deeply involved in the Boys and Girls Club.
Yep.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. So maybe talk a little bit about, a community like this that's so incredible and supportive of an industry, and some of the ways that you think about how you give back, how Alliance and Alera give back to the community.
Yeah, I think it's important to, as I mentioned, born and raised here in Elkhart, I think it's important to be, we called our company Alliance for a reason. We want to be in alliance with not only our team, as we've talked about, but we want to be in alliance with our vendor partners, our dealer partners, our end consumers, and the community. The community is so important to me. It's important to Ryan, because we grew up here. And I've been on the board of directors of the Boys and Girls Club here in Elkhart since 2019, really actually, it might have gone back to 2018. So it's been even pre Alliance RV. And one of the things we do every year is I chair the Boys and Girls Club Color Run, which is in early June every year, and it's a big 5K downtown Elkhart that we recruit probably 1,500 to 2,000 people to run on a Saturday morning, and it's really gratifying. We raise over $100,000 for our local Boys and Girls Club. Yeah. So that's exciting, and it's something that is super important to us and to our team here in the community.
I love that.
And we also give back through other nonprofit organizations throughout the year as well. Yeah. So we try to be supportive in a number of ways.
I love that. It takes a village, right? It takes all kinds of, one of the things we talk about a lot is like, innovation is not just investors and entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. It's policymakers and the philanthropists and the foundations and everybody, like the creative economy that's coming on so strong with democratization, with AI. It's so exciting. Yeah. I mean, right now, there's somebody probably within a 10-mile radius of us that is going to have a business doing $100 million in revenue with 3 employees.
That's right. It's amazing. Right? Yeah, you look at the revenue per employee of some of these big, AI companies. It's incredible what they're accomplishing.
Actually, that's a great segue into this question. I didn't think about this till you just said that. So it used to be like in SaaS and software as a service, if you hit $100,000 in revenue per FTE, that was kind of an initial massive milestone, like you've made it. And you have some publicly traded SaaS companies out there that are $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 revenue per FTE. These AI companies now, the new floor is like $1 million, and a lot of them are doing 3, 4, 10 million per FTE. What are those? I'm just curious about those benchmarks in the RV industry. What are some of the big benchmarks that you look for in running your company?
Yeah, I think we have a KPI sheet that we look at every Monday, and I'm always looking at what's produced and what's retailed. So that's the biggest key performance indicator that we're always looking at is my wholesale meeting retail, or is it exceeding? And if it's exceeding, I need to turn the dial back just a little bit on my output. That's first and foremost. So we always have to maintain, supply in the field. And then we look at other metrics like labor rates. How we pay on a rate system here, and we want our team members making at the top end of the pay scale. And so the other thing that we're looking at is our full-time employee headcount, and to kind of your point, what's our rate, and are they making the right amount of money? But the biggest thing that's always first and foremost every Monday is, okay, how many do we retail over the weekend? Yep. And that's important for us.
So tell me about, so from a supply chain standpoint, all the componentry, I'm curious what percentage is domestic versus overseas. And then with chips and things of that nature, how critical has that become or not yet?
Yeah, not
in the
yet.
RV
Not yet for
industry?
us on the towable side. Now we buy all of our chassis for Midwest from Mercedes or Ford. So there's a bunch of chips that are involved there, but
Yep.
that's on the chassis producer. So we're buying the finished chassis that comes in. We buy everything domestic, 100% domestic. Now our suppliers might source it from China or Indonesia or
Right.
Thailand or wherever, but we're buying our products that are from suppliers here. In some cases they're distributors in town, but all of our supply comes from mainly local connections.
And do you have to keep like 1 week supply, 30 days, 90
That's
days?
a good question. So that's the beautiful thing about our business, and back to the banking side of things, is we can really turn our material quickly and we can turn our finished goods quickly because we have net terms with our vendor partners.
Right.
So we can get a frame on a Monday. That finished product is going out the door on a Wednesday or Thursday. We're invoicing it and collecting 20 days later while we're paying our vendor in a very similar time frame. So we can be really capital efficient and turn our raw material into finished goods quite quickly. So it's a really efficient business, really.
It helps with a little thing called cash flow.
Big time.
It makes me think of that concept, the power of one.
Yes.
And when you get scale like you have, being able to dial back one day of some section of components or accounts receivable.
Yeah.
I mean, 1 day is a big deal.
1 day is a huge deal. And how do you maintain, you don't want to build up too much finished goods. You don't want to have anything sitting offline.
Right.
It's not getting out of here quickly. So that's something we're looking at every day. Back to KPIs is what's finished goods look like, and are we turning it and getting it sent on the road quickly? So,
well, Coley, time flies. We're up with time here, but we're going to go into some rapid fire questions. And these can be one word, a sentence, or we can talk for 6 hours, however you want to take them. But it's like that initial thought we're always looking for. And I love some of the answers we get. Before I dive into that, I do have to ask you one question. I have never met someone named Coley. Where's your name come from?
So my dad also went to Notre Dame, and when he was there, or slightly before he got there was a quarterback, and his name was Coley O'Brien. And believe it or not, he liked that name, and so did my mom. Awesome. And so that's where my name came from. So, from a Notre Dame football player.
Is he still alive?
He just passed away. He was an attorney in Washington, D.C., and recently passed away.
Did he play with Rudy?
No, he's older than that.
Older
so he would have played in like the early 70s.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, you ready for rapid fire?
Sure.
So I've got 4 rapid fires.
Okay.
And so what is one thing in your industry that you think people should stop doing?
I would say negative social influencers.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah. That's something that just seems, I don't know maybe we cut for a second, maybe that's not a good answer, but what I don't like about our industry, and I think our entire industry doesn't like, is that people gravitate sometimes to drama.
Right.
And sometimes social influencers want to go up there and just spread a bad story when it's not always necessarily accurate.
Yeah.
So it really drives me nuts. Or it's user error.
Positivity drives positivity.
That's right. And sometimes, so I don't know, maybe just cut it at that, and so that's my one word answer there.
I love it. What is one thing, a process or a habit that you believe gives people the best ability to disrupt themselves, like to make change for the better, like to help innovate or disrupt yourself?
I think you got to have, openness and willingness to change, obviously, and with a crazy good work ethic, while at the same time keeping a positive outlook.
Yeah, I love that. If you could wave a magic wand and solve any problem in the world, what would it be?
Well, there's a lot of talk about, autonomous driving. That's obviously coming, and it's not coming. It's here. My big thing would be autonomous air travel or personal air taxi. And there's a company that's working on it. It's called Joby, and it is. We were Ryan and I were both EY Entrepreneurs of the Year. We were national award winners back in
huge award. Congratulations,
2022. And through that, winning that award, I was asked to be on as a panelist, national panelist as a judge for future years. And one of the businesses that we reviewed recently was Joby Aviation, and they're still working on it. But I think that would be just an awesome thing for our world to have, or our country to have, is personal air taxis.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
You should check it out. Joby Aviation. They're working on it. So
yeah.
hopefully
I wonder who in Indiana is going to be the first person to take a hovercraft or aviation or a drone from their home to the office.
That's right.
And land it.
I hope it's me.
Let's do that.
I hope it's me.
We have to film that.
That's right. We need to do that for sure.
Can you imagine also the day when we all get to hang out in an RV, in one of your RVs with autonomous driving?
Yes.
That we can be in the back.
And that too.
Hang with the kids, with our friends.
Yeah. There's been talks and there's been prototypes and there's been some work with that. But, the infrastructure needs to build out across the country and the campgrounds and whatnot to really kind of make that a good user experience.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have to live long enough for that to happen.
I hope so. I hope we both do.
That's awesome. So, Coley, this has been amazing. Anything else you want people to know out there that I haven't asked you yet?
Nope. I think we're good.
How do people find your incredible products? Where do they go for Alliance RVs?
So go to our website, alliancerv.com, and on that webpage, you'll be able to search our dealer partners, and you can put in your local zip code or local city, and it'll populate the closest 3 or 4 dealers for you to kind of go check out our products. So again, it's nationwide. It's in Canada as well. We're everywhere.
How about boats? How can I buy your pontoon boats?
Same thing. You'd go to aleramarine.com, and the same thing. You'd go to our dealer locator and put your city in, and it'd populate the local dealers. So
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We're here in your gorgeous facility on your campus here where you manufacture the crowdsourced RVs of the world. You could not have been more gracious with your time. Thank you so much. And that's it. Coming to you from the RV capital of the world, it's Innovate or Evaporate, and we'll see you soon.